What are you reading there, Eddie?
This thing called the Constitution of the United States of America. But apparently the Democrats did not like until about 3 months ago when they became all pro-founder. It says, I'm reading Article 2, Section 4, which is about impeaching a president. So far, I have found no evidence to suggest that of contempt of Congress or abuse of power are enough to remove a president from office. It does say that a president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. I assume that's where they put the categories of abuse of power and contempt of Congress. I assume it's under that clause. If you want to be all technical.
I mean, I think it's kind of funny that the Constitution outlines treason and bribery, right? Mm-hmm. And for the past 3 years, they have accused President Trump of being a Russian spy, a puppet of Russia, which would be considered treason.
Oh, and interference in the election.
Interference in the election.
Interference in it by a foreign power, which is treason.
Yes. And then this quid pro quo with Ukraine on Biden, which would be considered bribery.
So
yet the charges against the president aren't any of those, which would be clear, plain English, black and white, or teal, basically. Not teal, but a light brown on the original document.
Eggshell white.
On the original document, it's aged a little bit.
Yeah.
And they said they had clear evidence, meaning like no doubt about it. And yet the charges against the president are what again?
Contempt of Congress and abuse of power. Welcome to MM Talk.
Welcome to this week's episode of MM Talk. We are your hosts, Jaime Moreno
and Eddie Marmolejo.
Today's episode, we will focus on impeachment.
Again.
And again. This time, we will break down what impeachment means. And no, it does not mean that the president is automatically removed from office. Because if you have noticed lately, he is still president of the United States, even though they impeached him in the House. So we will break that down this week. But before we continue this talk about impeachment,
make sure to please subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to our pages both on Instagram and Facebook. Tune in for future content, the clips, and then we'll post the link to this episode on our pages, and you can just follow those links to the YouTube channel. Make sure to comment below, share it with your friends. And with that, Jaime, Nancy Pelosi did it, and the Democrats did it.
So the day, what is that? A Democrat victory?
It is the day of reckoning for the Democrats.
No. Wait. For the record, the Democrats and Ms. Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi, have said that this was a somber and sad and just pretty much sad thing they did. So they had to do.
Yeah,
that they were forced to do.
Yeah, this is how ridiculous. I'm just gonna jump to the ridiculousness of this. Okay,
that is ridiculous in itself.
Yeah, I know. But
that is ridiculous.
She wore black. Okay, because she was in mourning.
Yeah, she was in mourning.
But then, of course, she has to tell some of her caucuses.
Article 1 is adopted.
Oh, yeah, she was like, Article 1 approved, and then like she's like,
hey, stop it. And then, even before that, you had Rashida Tlaib.
Oh, that's right.
On her, I think it was her Twitter. It's like, on my way to the House of Representatives. We're gonna go impeach President Trump. It's such a glorious day. This is not verbatim, of course, but she was happy. But
it was a somber day.
It was a somber day. It
was a tragic day.
I am on my way to the United States House floor to impeach President Trump. On behalf of my incredible district, 13 districts.
It was a day of mourning because the Democrats who hate the Constitution in the form of that they accuse that document of being only for whites, for slave owners, for privileged, for racist, for made by outdated men. And they hate the Constitution because of the Electoral College. And because of that, pretty much the main reason.
I love it.
And then that somber day on Wednesday,
they were pro-founding.
They were... Miss Pelosi came out in public and said, we have to... And she literally quoted the founding documents of the same racist, slave-owning, Nazi, misogynistic founders. The same man that, her party...
is against.
Now they're using it as the reason why they're moving forward with impeachment, and the somber effect of it, and the tragedy, and they were forced to do this even though they wanted not to do it. They're like, no, we don't want to do this, but we have to do it now. Right.
So
if Trevor Noah doesn't believe the BS, I'm pretty sure you guys don't believe the BS either.
And
Trevor Noah from The Daily Show, if you guys don't know.
Trevor Noah, ridiculous. But anyways,
where is Jon Stewart? He should come back and make a comment on this. That'd be cool. Jon Stewart, you probably won't even see this.
If you see it, he'll probably be on Colbert.
Yeah,
those
but
are more close.
We would like to have your input on this.
Jon Stewart,
please. Jon Stewart.
He was. I think he was a centrist thing. You can quote me wrong. I don't know if he was a moderate or not. It's been years, but anyway. So the way we got started with impeachment, of course, I mean, you put it out perfectly, is that impeachment does not automatically mean, and you should know this by now because we're getting close to the start of the new week, is that he's not removed from office.
He is still in the White House.
He's still in the White House.
He's still tweeting.
He's still tweeting. He's still holding rallies.
He's still the president of the United States.
And let me put it to you this way. This is how bad it's gotten. The Republican Party raised more funds in the last 96 hours than most of its entire history. After impeachment, it is ridiculous.
I don't know if that's embarrassing or is that good news?
That's pretty bad news for everybody that wanted President Trump out of office because now he has more funds.
He has more money.
He has more money for his campaign.
Yeah.
Let's just start off there. So you try to impeach, well, you did impeach him.
So impeachment is done.
Impeachment's done. And he gets more popular, and his party just raised the largest amount of money in party history
for his
re-election campaign.
I don't know what to say about that other than watch out, Democrats. I don't know who the front runner is going to be by the time we get to the general election, but yeah. Anyways, let's go to impeachment because that's a good note to understand. So impeachment, right? A lot of people think impeachment is automatic removal, right? Like you're impeached, you're out of office. And that's not the way it works. Right. So like, Eddie is saying and I'm saying, when you're impeached, impeachment pretty much means that the president or any official committed a crime and they must be removed from office. Forcefully removed. It's
Correction, political crime.
Political crime, right? Or, an exception to the president, a federal judge can be removed, right? Impeached.
Right.
And doesn't have to do a political crime. He could actually
commit a crime. I know.
But the exception of the president.
Yes.
The president, if he commits a crime while a sitting president, he cannot be tried until after the election or after
he's removed. He's out of office.
He's out of office by election or just terms out, right? So if the president commits murder, he's pretty sure going to get tried after he finishes his term as president. So that's just the way it works. Why? I don't know. Blame the racists, I guess. Founders, I don't know.
Article 1.
Article 1, right? Okay. So pretty much, impeachment means that you want to remove that the president committed an offense that should send him to trial. It's like we're putting charges on the president, and these are the charges against the president, and because of these charges, he must be removed from his office. The problem with that, well, it's not a problem. The second part of that is that the House just makes charges. That's it. And you can clearly see that because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to pass those articles of impeachment over to the Senate. So after the House votes to impeach the president, or he's impeached, he needs to go to a trial. It's like any judicial process here in the United States, there has to be a trial. So Eddie, can you tell us what a trial looks like in the Senate?
So the trial, first they will have to get the managers, they have to set the rules. In this case, the Republicans will have the majority, so they will say what the rules will be, the lengthy term. I mean, not the lengthy. how long the trial will be here. I'm getting ahead of myself here. And of course, and then the witnesses, right? Who will be able to come forward as a witness? People will get a subpoena, so on and so forth. And then they will hear testimony in the Judiciary Committee, right, in the Senate. You will hear testimony left and right. And then after all that is done, take it into a vote.
Okay. And
then once the vote is complete, depending the result of that vote, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court Chief Justice will come into the Senate and deliver the judgment. And then if it's in favor of the accused, in this case the president, he will be acquitted, but impeachment still remains as part of the House, so basically it'll be like on his permanent record.
Yeah.
And if he's voted to be, and if he's found guilty, they will then basically say they will vote to remove him from office, and he'll be removed from office, and the vice president will become president of the United States. And then if they want to pursue further legal action against the president the former president after he's removed from office, then that's how you will proceed with all that.
So pretty much, how many votes does the president need in order to be convicted?
2/3, right?
2/3 vote, right?
2/3, 60. Well,
so it's 100 senators.
100 senators. You need at least 60.
60 votes, right?
60 votes,
you need 60 votes to say he is guilty. So you can have 50 votes.
It's still not enough.
Or you can have 55 votes. How about 59 votes?
59 votes. 50. It will be a 50-50, and if I'm correct, the vice president does the tiebreaker.
Yes.
Correct.
So the Senate is okay. Yeah. So these are the scenarios we have now, right? So Eddie just explained what happened in the Senate. So let's say the Senate votes 50-50. 50 guilty and 50 say he's innocent. So who tie breaks it?
So the tiebreaker, the president of the Senate, which is
the vice president,
which is
the vice president of the United States,
falls into the Chief Justice.
Oh, the Chief Justice is the tiebreaker, not the vice president.
I wasn't sure. That's why I looked it up right now.
So correction, we just corrected ourselves right now. See, that's always good to research, you know. That's what we do.
That's always like, wait, is it the VP? I know the VP
and then he
breaks votes, like in Senate bills and all that. He breaks the vote, but impeachment, which I mean, and I do apologize for saying the VP again. It's like it's not like it happens every day.
Sorry for that mistake. We're correcting ourselves in front of you guys.
If there's a 50-50 split, Roberts could act as the tiebreaker vote. The role typically played in the Senate by the VP, which is what I thought.
Which is common.
Can't do that in the presidential impeachment trial because of conflict of interest, which is
like I said earlier.
Even when you asked me, like, no, it was the VP, but
when I said, if the VP wants to become president, he can vote him out. Right?
Yeah, the Senate could also override Roberts' decision with the majority vote. So even if, so not only does Roberts get to be the tiebreaker.
So Roberts is the Chief Justice
of the Supreme Court. So Justice Roberts breaks the split, and the Republicans don't like it. They get to overturn that with the 2/3 majority again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's right here. The Senate could also override Roberts' decision with a majority vote.
If the tie is split. But if the decision is made, can they override that?
Decision is made, is done. So but it's kind of dumb to even have that clause, because if you have a 50-50 split and he's the tiebreaker, why are you gonna put it up to vote again? Like that's kind of insane. Well, maybe I'm not understanding how this works, but based on what I just
they can try,
but
to override it, which will likely not happen.
No. But in this case, I wouldn't even be worried about that. To be honest, I don't think there's going to be a tiebreaker.
There won't be a need.
There will be no. This will be literally majority partisan in the Senate as well. Republicans
So what it means? Okay, so
Oh yeah,
before we go there,
I'm getting ahead of myself again.
it's okay. It's a lot of information.
Yeah.
So pretty much, once it gets to the Senate, the senators are the jury. Okay, the senators are the jury of the president. Okay, and it's presided by the Chief Justice. Right. So, in order to get 60 votes to remove him from office, it's a hard task. All right. Currently in the Senate, how many Republicans do we have in the Senate? Do you know the numbers?
53.
53 Republicans. And that makes
45
47.
Democrats and 2 independents.
Okay, 45 Democrats and 2 independents.
Yes.
So even with 53 Republicans, you will need how many people? How many senators from the other party?
We have 53. You have 45. You will need what? 6 senators. That will
At
give
least
you,
6 senators?
No. You need to get
7.
60. No, you need to get 6. So you need to get 15 senators, 15 Republicans to switch. Because that would be 60-40.
Okay, I see what you mean.
See, it's like 60-40.
So 40. So obviously, let's look at this as partisan. So we know that the Democrats, all the Democrats in the House, 232 Democrats voted yes on impeachment. 196 voted no. 193 are Republican. 2 of them were Democrats, and one of them, which is Ms. Tulsi Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard, she voted present. The only present vote in this decision making. What do you feel about that? We won't talk about that right
So
now.
let's put it this way.
So it's down party lines. Pretty much, it's the first impeachment in American history where it's just party versus party. One party voting
And it's
to
gonna
get the
be in both
president out.
houses.
Okay. Now the Senate is the same. We believe, or many are projecting, that's going to be the same thing. We have 53 Republican senators, which is the president's party, and then we have 45 Democrat senators, which is the opposition, and we have 2 independent voters. So if everyone voted, if all Republicans voted no, that's 53 votes. If all Democrats voted yes to impeach, that's 45. And in order for the yes to win, we will need how many Republicans to vote against Trump?
To vote him out of office?
Yeah.
You will need 20 Republicans. Excuse me. I said 15. This will be 20 Republicans to go with the Democrats to get him out of office.
So 20 Republicans to vote against the president to
Right.
get him off office. Okay.
Good luck. I'm sorry.
So that's gonna be a hard task. That is gonna be a hard task. Honestly,
There is no
There's
shot. There's
no
no
shot.
shot. First
There's
of
no
all-
shot. 20 Republicans to go against the sitting president.
It's 2/3, right? So
Yeah, 2/3, 60.
2/3, 66. So you want to get all accurate.
Okay, 66 votes.
So if you want to make the math all right, I said 15. I was close. It's more like 20. So 20 defections. You barely had 3 in the House from Democrats, right? Well, I mean, so to have 20 Democrats,
20 Republicans.
20 Republicans join the Democrats based
And
in
getting-
this particular trial, highly unlikely.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that pretty much by simple majority, the president will stay in office.
Yeah.
So even if 3 Republicans were to switch sides,
It's not enough.
it's still not enough to
No.
get the president out of office.
No.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you need 20 because they're at 45.
Do you think they can reach 20?
They're not going to reach 20. You can't, because look who's going to set the rules. McConnell, right? Senator McConnell.
Which is the majority leader.
Majority leader, Republican. Okay. It would take like a miracle from, well, I don't know if this will be a miracle, but it will take some divine providence to elevate Chuck Schumer to somehow convince a Republican majority to join him in the removal of office of President Trump,
Or the evidence on trial
or the evidence in
will
the
be
trial.
overwhelming.
Yes, that
Proof that President Trump committed abuse of power,
abuse of power.
and contempt of Congress. And it would have to be overwhelming evidence
Yes.
in order to change their minds. And so far, the evidence, as we've spoke here in MM Talk, regardless of party affiliation,
it's ambiguous.
whether or not you like the guy or not, whether you like the man or you don't like the man, it is still like the evidence is still not strong
enough. Yeah. But even I think evidence alone is not enough. I think what you're seeing here is the lack of inability to persuade half the, and I know it's not really half the country, but half a side to say, you know what, yeah, you guys are right. There's not the evidence doesn't suggest that. The way it's being delivered doesn't suggest that. The way this trial, the inquiries were set up in the House, that doesn't suggest that. Americans in general don't even care. So you're failing in all fronts as in this impeachment, particularly because what I just said, lack of care. You're not convincing the other side, and everybody's voting partisan. So we're really wasting time. And for what? Like,
I guess it's just a political move.
It is, and that's the dangers that you and I have discussed in this show. That impeachment has become that tool that was now stayed break me in case of emergency and then unable to win a future election.
Pretty much.
You know
if you're gonna lose, if the president you don't like is gonna win election again, impeach him.
Yeah, and that is
sad.
That is.
I think that is worse. I think that's worse than having a Trump presidency. Because the Democrats
that's just worse than having any presidency at all.
Yeah, because the Democrats right now are saying that the President Trump is a threat to national security.
A continuous, clear, and present danger.
Okay, clear and present danger to the United States. Okay? That's what they're saying about him. But they can't convince the public that he is that present danger.
Yeah.
Right? So, what's worse than that is what they're doing now, because they're using impeachment as a resort of, I don't like this guy, I don't want him to win the election again. Let's interfere in the next election by impeaching a president in his first term in office.
Yes, that's the president, and that's the danger that I keep repeating over and over again, that it says a really terrible precedent, because now impeachment, which was perhaps the safeguard against any corruption of the leader of our country, right? The guy who represents worldwide, has now been reduced to a political maneuver, to literally a maneuver of last resort. Like the nuclear option. This is it. If this doesn't work, nothing's going to work.
It's like a government shutdown.
Yeah,
but
not really.
No,
because
wrong analogy. No. Sorry, my bad. I can sketch it.
Yeah, no. But no. It's more of saying, you know what? We can't. This is just desperation, man. This is a Hail Mary. Okay, let's in football terms. This is a Hail Mary. Okay, it's either gonna succeed, and luckily Nancy Pelosi is not Aaron Rodgers. Okay, she does not throw Hail Marys and people catch him in the end zone, right? But
that's too funny. I'm sorry.
Just it's been reduced to that. You guys got to understand that I'm speaking as in a constitutional base and understanding political strategy. It's to reduce it to that, and that's what every Republican in the House was saying during the debates. Basically, like, you've reduced. They're like, what are the articles of impeachment? I forget the congressman that just stood quiet there for like his entire time. Like, well, what did he do? What's the crime? And he just stood quiet, right? And then you had the other one saying, and then you had, and I forget the other guy's name too, but the other congressman, he said, you know what's going to happen when your guy gets to vote in office and we control the House? We're going to do this. It's going to be a large possibility that we do the same thing. That's to a Democrat president. That is the danger I'm talking about. That right there.
Okay, sorry. I know detracting. I mean, I totally agree with you, but right now I just thought of this. The Republicans hated President Obama.
We never did it.
But we never did it. We disliked this guy.
Imagine
we hated President Obama's. The Republicans disliked President Obama so much, right? They didn't pass a lot of laws. They didn't cooperate with him. I get it. Yeah, the Republicans were big assholes. Okay, but they disliked him, but not enough to impeach him.
Yeah, imagine this scenario.
So that's I think the Republicans are the bigger person in that respect.
I'll put it to you this way.
And portraying their hatred against somebody.
I'll put it to you this way.
That they know where to limit themselves.
I'll put it to you this way. how many pro-Trump marches have you seen after impeachment?
None.
Exactly. How many anti-Trump protests did you see when he got elected?
A lot.
So a lot of the accusations that we on the right get is that we're a bunch of crazy white supremacist nationalists with torches and what's it called? Pitchforks and machetes and all that. How many of them took the streets? How many rallies did you see? The only rallies I saw were from the president in Michigan. That was about it.
Charlottesville.
No. I'm saying right now, an impeachment.
An impeachment. Okay.
Yeah, so how many did you see us blocking freeways?
No.
Did you see us doing any of all that?
No. You mean, okay, so how many people came out in support of the president, and blocked freeways and did marches and vigils?
Exactly.
None.
But
we see a whole bunch of marches and people protesting to get him impeached.
Pro-impeachment. Yeah, you saw
pro-impeachment.
You saw Alyssa Milano like on the top of a building. This is what democracy looks like, and she was like, This is what democracy looks like.
Asshole has committed obstruction of justice.
Not according to the Mueller report.
Abuse of power.
How did the president abuse his power when none of the witnesses testified to that during the impeachment inquiries? Furthermore, the only case for abuse of power was that he used executive privilege, which were used by, every other president before him. But okay, what next?
Bribery, obstruction of Congress.
They would not say here in MM Talk that you can't really make a case for bribery since there was clearly no quid pro quo. The investigation that was needed to supposedly obtain Javelin missiles never took place. The aid was then released, and no investigation took place. So how do you do that? And you're talking about obstruction of Congress because once again he used executive privilege. Really?
And the American people know this.
If the people believe what you're telling them to believe right now, then why do many polls show that either one, Americans are not interested in Trump's impeachment, or two, they really don't believe what's going on? That includes independent voters.
And we also know the Republicans are picking party over country.
Well, I guess she's going to forget about the almost 2.5, 3 years of Democrat threat to impeach President Trump for the election. She's going to forget how her party changed the impeachment rules before the committees. She's going to forget that no witnesses were called from the Republican side and that every single witness either, was handpicked by Democrats. How is that also not acting within party lines? But I digress. He gets impeached, and I'm like...
But he's still in power.
We're laughing. And when I was laughing, I'm like, because all these rallies and everything was like, I'll see y'all November 3rd. But what I'm getting to is
November 3rd, 2020.
You brought Obama.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is what we're trying to tell our viewers here is that, the Republicans, let's be honest, they hated President Obama. They really disliked him.
But that's why I want to paint this in.
But not in the racial aspect that they portrayed.
No, they just hated his policies.
They just hated his policies. Right. So the comparison, because it's recent history. Mm-hmm. It's like recently, not that long ago. It's like recent. The Republicans were in the majority, during President Obama's term, but never have they used impeachment to get him out of office.
No, and I think
they opposed his, and we opposed it too. The whole mandate for healthcare, what happened with Fast and the Furious with the guns, what happened with other. People say that the president had no scandals. He had a lot of scandals. The only difference is that the news didn't report it as scandalous as they do now.
Right.
So that's the big difference. It's the perception that the news media gives. So the president Obama had many reasons to be impeached, or they could use many excuses to impeach him, but the Republicans never did it.
Exactly.
And now the Democrats, their hate against President Trump because Hillary Clinton did not win, it's so great that the day he was sworn into office, people were talking about impeaching the president, the process of impeaching the president. As far back as 2016, as far back as January 2017.
I get it, but to your point,
and they became a little. Sorry, let me just finish my thought here. they become so fixated in their berrinche, like we say here in Spanish, in their what how is that in English? Their berrinche is their fit. No, their child fit. Their child
Tantrum.
There you go. Thank you. Their tantrum. Their tantrum has gone so bad that they literally impeached the president on something that may look wrong, but is not actually an impeachable offense. It's not a crime, So in that respect, I think the Republicans are the bigger person in terms of how they control their power,
right?
Than the Democrats, which right now we see that their temper tantrum is so great that they went ahead and impeached the president on something that looks wrong, but is not actually.
Trump, where is the abuse of power of asking a foreign dignitary or a foreign leader to say, your country meddled in our elections, I need to get to the bottom of it. And what is this business about Hunter Biden and his dealings at the time as well? Where does it say?
Yeah, okay, keep going.
Yeah, where is the violation of presidential powers or abuse of power and all that?
Well, they say just by bringing up the question or
Right.
making the comment
Right.
is the abuse of power.
Well, that's ridiculous. That's within his power. That's what I'm trying to get. That is within his power. You may not like it how he worded it.
So did Ukraine even make did Ukraine eventually do the investigation?
No. So Ukraine didn't even know they were withholding the money. Okay.
Yeah, from our testimony.
Yeah, they didn't know they were withholding the money. President Trump admits he wanted nothing from Ukraine, no quid pro quo. All he wanted to do was basically vet Zelensky to see if he was really going to be a reformer and all that. And then he releases the fund. No investigation takes place.
So
and no White House meeting.
Oh yeah,
Which you remember the White House meeting too. So all the president did was, hey, can you look into this matter that affects my national security?
Did he say look into it? I think he said whatever happened to that. I think he asked whatever happened to that.
Yeah, do me a favor. Can you look into it? Can you look into it? Maybe but it's all in the president's prerogative. There was no indication hey, if you help me out, I'll give you a White House meeting, or I'll give you the money you need for your self-defense and so forth. There was never that.
Yeah, there was no actual bribery. Right?
There was no. Thank you.
Quid pro quo.
There was no bribery. There was bribery in 2015. I'll tell you that, when everybody was bragging about how. Well, Mr. Biden went to the Ukraine and he said that if that attorney general did not move, he would not get aid.
I mean, he literally is on record for saying that, and no one's putting this guy in contempt of Congress. No one's making him, hey, this is a vice president at the time who abused his power and influence to get something done in Ukraine. Yeah. Literally, Joe Biden, and we showed the videos here on MM Talk, where Joe Biden is talking in conferences saying, yeah, I told the president of Ukraine to remove that attorney general, or else I'm not going to give him any money. But yet, that's okay. That's not abuse of power. But President Trump just asked the question, whatever happened to the investigation on that company with Joe's son? And all of a sudden, that becomes an abuse of power when Joe Biden literally goes public and says, I told them this, if they don't do it, I'm withholding money. So they listen to me and I give them money. That is quid pro quo, and it's plain, simple, in your face.
But as I'm saying, so what I was trying to get through all the examples of Trump and Obama and the differences in the cases, right, is that you have reduced impeachment not only to a political strategy, but now you are holding the executive branch, you're holding grip, you're holding on to power.
So the president doesn't represent the people anymore.
No, it's not. It's more like a parliamentary system now. Now it's Congress who represents the people.
And in a way.
No, but what I'm saying is that
but they're
the
saying
president is not independent of the legislature.
Okay.
So the executive is not independent of the legislative branch. That's what I'm trying to get to.
So now the president serves at the pleasure
of the House of Congress, which is what
is not meant to happen.
And if you read Federalist 75 under Madison, it explains it right there, and that's clearly what you're seeing. because you have diminished the definition of how you should impeach a president. We talk about Professor Turley in a couple episodes ago, and he talks about how this is not the right way to do impeachment. These articles don't even make sense. You have not cross-examined all the necessary witnesses. So you have not detained a clear and concise, detailed inquiry as to what happened, and to reach a conclusion based on the evidence perhaps is not the best way to roll with impeachment. So that's where we're at, folks. We have reduced impeachment into a political strategy that it's gonna be
see.
interesting. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, because so pretty much now that we know all this, right? I mean, you probably think, well, we're just blind Trump supporters. No. We are students of, like we said way when we first started the show, we look at the facts, the independent of party politics. If you're Democrat, Republican, let's look at what's fair and just, regardless if you agree or disagree with the person, right? In impeachment proceedings. You know what I'm saying?
And in the case of President Trump, the only person that clearly said it was like one of the key star witnesses said that, yeah, we had a meeting, one of the Zelensky aides, and they said that the funding, if we did this whole investigation thing, we would get a meeting at the White House. But when he called the president, he said he didn't want nothing, remember?
Yeah, he said,
Ambassador Sondland.
He said, but I talked to the president to get a go-ahead on this, and the president's like, I don't want nothing with Ukraine, I don't care about them.
So, but check this out. So when you pile the evidence, here's an article from The Hill. Top Zelensky aide refutes Sondland testimony. Now, The Hill covers everything in Congress. It's most notably like to be a center-left or center publication, okay? States, quote, a top aide to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is refuting U.S. Ambassador to the European Union Sondland's testimony and impeachment against President Trump. Sondland last month testified before a House committee that he told Zelensky's aide that the U.S. would not resume foreign aid until the country announced 2 investigations into political rivals. However, the aide, Andrei Yermak, told the Times that in an interview published on Tuesday that the conversation never happened. Gordon and I were never alone together. We bumped into each other in the hallway next to the escalator, and as I was walking out. He continued adding that several members of an American and Ukrainian delegations, bodyguards, and hotel staff were nearby. And I remember everything is fine with my memory. We talked about how the meeting went well, and that's all we talked about.
So Sondland lied under oath. Pretty much. According to...
Yeah, well, he's basically saying that... Well, you can't say... If you're a defense lawyer, well, he didn't lie. He could have just been mistaken of the exact meeting.
He forgot, yeah. He forgot.
So... This top aide is telling you that those conversations never took place. So everything in your trial, like Jaime's pointing out, either points that you were either never there,
you didn't
never
see,
did it,
never saw you steal
never had a witness.
Yeah, and they just heard it from someone else.
And you heard it from someone else.
So that's so far what we saw on the trial. You know, what we saw, inquiry. Now the trial in the Senate, and we here actually want the trial to go full on. We actually agree with Chuck Schumer
and
President Trump that there should be a trial with witnesses and evidences for the president and against the president, and we agree with that. Why? Because here in the United States, whether you hate a person, dislike a person, or you just wish them the worst, you still want them to have a fair trial, right? It might be the most heinous criminals in American history, the most vile criminals in American history had their day in court. They had their witnesses, they had their testimony, they had the evidence against them, and they still went to trial, and they still faced their accusers. They had their day in court. And if you hate the president or love the president, he deserves a day in court. He deserves a trial, right? If in that trial he is proven guilty and the whistleblower comes out and just spills it all out, or the evidence is overwhelming, then yes, remove the president from office. He did abuse his power. He did receive bribery. He did commit treason.
Yeah, but then...
However, the charges against the president isn't bribery,
Okay,
isn't treason, and isn't what's it called?
Contempt of
Racism.
Congress.
Okay. His crime, according to Congress, is abuse of power
and contempt of Congress.
and contempt of Congress.
Which falls under the high crime and misdemeanors.
But yeah, but I mean, they literally said for 3 years that the president is guilty. We have evidence that he is a traitor by being influenced by foreign powers, being a puppet of Russia. That's treason.
He's a Manchurian candidate.
Okay? They literally told us for 3 years that the president is a bribe person. He's like a quid pro quo. He's using the office of the president to enrich himself. That is called corruption. That the president is using his power to bribe other leaders and countries. That's literally bribery, which is outlined in the article in the Constitution. They accuse him of a lot of things, and yet the charges that they said they had evidence, right? They've been telling us they have evidence that the president is this, and that, and yet the charges to impeach him are none of those charges. That's what boggling for me.
I can only laugh. I'm sorry.
It's like, what?
Yeah, but it's funny. It's funny. It's funny. I'm sorry. I can only laugh.
Because, I mean, come on, guys. We're common sense. We're not dumb. You guys aren't dumb. We're not dumb. We're all common sense, rational people, right? For years, they've been telling us he is corrupt. He is a liar. He is a Russian spy. He is a threat to our American security.
Clear and present.
And that were true, and they really had the evidence. Why wasn't there articles of impeachment? He bribed. He is corrupt. He is a traitor, and he is a spy or Manchurian candidate, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They should have made those. That's true. They should have made those charges. I would have been more happy if they would have made those those charges,
but
those articles of impeachment instead of this bogus abuse of power. And
I was reading. I was
like, what?
I was reading, and I forget. I don't know if it was the New York Times or the Post, and I'm thinking it was the Times, and everybody can correct me on this. Where the lawyer that was helping up the Democrats on impeachment article says you can't charge them on bribery because he didn't do any of that. There's no evidence to suggest that. So that's why they went with abuse of power. So you see what I mean? That the current the evidence that was
So there's no clear evidence
based on
but abuse of power. You can interpret his behavior
in so many ways. Yes,
you can interpret the behavior he made.
Exactly. So instead of charging him for what actually was happened, you had to make this ambiguous because high crimes and misdemeanors in itself is ambiguous. So you could put abuse of power under that because you could have charged him on bribery, and you can't charge him on treason because if you can't charge him on bribery, he didn't commit any treason because he is not having a foreign power influence our elections as well.
Yeah, got it.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So
because it's beneficial for Democrats to put abuse of power in contempt of Congress because it can interpret President Trump's behavior in a way that's abusive, even though there's no actual evidence. They can just interpret the behavior.
But that's my whole deal with this whole impeachment thing. So I hope you guys understood how the whole trial thing works and why we think these two articles simply just don't fit the bill. The evidence doesn't even point to that. The president acts within his power, and Congress just literally set up probably the most dangerous, what I believe the most dangerous precedent in the history of our young republic. You guys don't understand how dangerous this will be. Okay.
So that means that 10 years from now we can have another impeachment of a president over something ridiculous, or something that they don't like, and then maybe down the road another 30 years can go by and we could have an impeachment, another 40 years can go by and have another impeachment, and so on and so forth. So instead of winning an election fair and square and stop being a sore loser, you're just using impeachment as a way to
beat the guy,
or beat the woman if there's ever a woman president in the future, right? Yeah. So as we wrap this up, because I know we talked about a lot of impeachment and a lot of things going on, a lot of things we have to analyze. What are the polls saying, right? What does American people think about the impeachment process? So if you guys remember in November, when the whole inquiry was going on, 49% of people opposed the impeachment and 39% supported it. Another poll said that 50% opposed impeachment and 44% supported impeachment. Now in December, after the impeachment went out and after it was passed, all of a sudden we have a shift in the poll numbers, a drastic, right? According to Politico, 51% of the population or of the pollsters vote in support of impeachment, and 42% voted in against the impeachment. Interesting. In NPR and PBS, their poll shows that 47% of people support impeachment, while 48%, which is a 1% higher, are against impeachment. Those are really
Drastic changes.
drastic changes. What, in 2 weeks?
Yep.
Pretty much in 2 weeks. Really drastic changes. So we looked at how did that change, right, Eddie?
Yeah. It's just the look. Even when all the polls keep telling you that Americans don't care, Americans are not tuning in. Americans are.
Thank you.
Americans rather listen to Cory Booker and then decide on their lunch.
And we did say that here in the talk.
Hey, we didn't
read those articles.
Read those articles.
I know we learned it by the Atlantic.
So after all that, right? I am like, how do you have like, what is it, like a 10-point swing or something? A
10-point swing.
Yeah. So how do you have that? Is insane. That is like,
and some numbers it's even 20. Yeah, 10%.
I can see one thing only, that Americans were just so fed up of watching C-SPAN, CNN, MSNBC, and all these people that they just wanted to wait for the outcome, and that's perhaps what you had to swing.
Probably.
Well, yeah, like when you're trying to understand, how do you swing this? Like, how do you? And then of course the 24-hour coverage added on top of that. I can see that happening, but also I also see it this way: there was no evidence. There was the perception. There's like the argument you keep it. So
yeah,
the perception is
perception.
So the perception after, even though if you look at the inquiry, everybody's like, well, dude, that guy doesn't even know what the hell is going on. I'm like, how the hell this happened? But the ability of Democrats and the media
mainstream.
to provide mainstream media to provide the perception that the impeachment is going to lead to the removal of President Trump, because that's where the narrative is going, is perhaps the reason why you have this swing. And I was like, but I just don't see that being a 10-point swing kind of drastic.
Yeah,
change.
we could see 5%,
maybe 3%. It could change maybe a little bit, but I was like 10. I was like, no.
Yeah, and also we noticed. If you guys go back to read, back in articles, you'll notice that they kept saying that the opposition and support for impeachment have remained the same. Has been more against the impeachment and less for impeachment. So it's been consistently, and all of a sudden we have this 10-point jump. And like Eddie just explained that perfectly. Yeah. So we went ahead and analyzed the polls.
I was like, Jaime, that makes no sense. It kept bothering us. Like, dude,
last week it was like,
it was just dead even.
Yeah.
Or
like 1%, 2% difference.
Which makes sense, because it's like, yeah, well, half the country loves him or likes his policy.
Or hates him.
And I was going to say, and the other country just, this is what democracy looks like. And I'm like, okay. And then, so go for it.
So we went to the numbers. And Politico polled 1,744 people.
Yeah, that was their poll, yeah.
That was the poll numbers. That was the total amount of people they polled. Out of those people polled, we look at the numbers.
But can you go back to what the article title was?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
so the article title. Oh, hold on, where is it at?
I think I remember it said majority of Americans now support impeachment. If I'm not mistaken.
Because it's Political. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
No, that's the old one. See, okay. So here's the Political. Okay, here's the same Political article, which was dated the 11th. Right. It says, as impeachment progresses, voter support remain static. Okay, so in this article, which was published like pretty much last week, they had in favor was, am I reading that right? 40.
support has ranged from 40 to 50%, while opposition has 41 to 45%. Yeah, it's like still the same. It wasn't that much, and it's political, so we already know where this is leaning. But,
this is the 11th. So the article they published after the.
There you go. Is that? Oh no, that's Independence.
No, that's still back in history. Hold on, it's right here. Maybe I refreshed it. Expect your campaign.
That's probably it right there.
Is it CNN?
Go up. No.
What the heck did I have that article at?
I know it was a political, and I believe the article stated. Hold on.
We're looking for it. Oh, here we go. Here it is. The Hill.
Oh, the Hill. Okay.
The Hill said majority of voters are in favor of Trump impeachment and removal. Poll. That was today.
Yeah, and they cite the political article.
And the Hill quoted, the political article.
Right.
The political poll.
Political poll. Okay.
The political poll, which is the poll we analyzed.
Right.
Okay. So the headline says majority of voters are in favor of impeachment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When last week it was
stagnant.
Mm-hmm. which was high support for against impeachment and low support for impeachment. So, and Eddie just said it could probably be it could be like that. That when people vote for pizza, you know, when you had that voting in class in elementary.
It's okay. Let's put it this way. Let's make it simpler. Popeye's chicken and Chick-fil-A. Okay, and then you find out that the secret sauce of Chick-fil-A perhaps had an ingredient that you didn't like. And then that same news article that did a polling.
No, that's too confusing.
Wow.
Chick-fil-A and Popeyes?
Yeah, Popeyes chicken sandwiches.
Obviously, Chick-fil-A wins, sir.
Sir, why are you interrupting? I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. So back to my analogy, okay? You find out that one of the ingredients in, let's say, the Chick-fil-A sandwich is an ingredient that you hate and you detest, and that's why. Right, and then you find out that more people are into that kind of thinking, and it's only like 10 people, and then you say, well, there's been a drastic change in the way people feel about Chick-fil-A's new chicken sandwich, giving the edge to Popeyes. That's what you're looking at here.
I guess, yeah, I could go with that.
It had to be something, right? Something. Bombshell, and the bombshell is that they went through impeachment in this case.
Yeah, for me, it's probably like people want to see if they can impeach or not, and they're just going with the bandwagon.
Yeah, so basically, the go with the
bandwagon. It's like Super Bowl.
Yeah,
no one really cares about the team, but whoever wins the Super Bowl, everyone all of a sudden becomes a fan.
Listen, sir, I care about
that. Tends to happen a lot. I'm not saying you do that, but it tends to happen a lot.
No, I know. Yeah, well, if the people that don't really follow the sport probably wait till the playoffs when it gets interesting and so forth.
Yeah.
Perfect. Screw my Popeyes and Chick-fil-A. It's like let's do it. It's the Super Bowl. Yeah. So everybody waits till the playoffs or they wait till the Super Bowl if they don't really follow the sport.
Yeah, they don't want to follow. The sport.
It's like it's like 16 weeks. I don't got time. Playoffs. And then
or they zone out. My team didn't make it. Who cares?
Exactly.
And they wait till the playoffs.
Super Bowl.
It's the Super Bowl.
Exactly. Perfect.
And then you have the Super Bowl. You have two teams.
Yeah.
And you like either one of them, so you just pick whoever one you think is gonna win. Or after that person wins, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I knew that team was gonna win.
Yeah, so
and you become you're happy for that team. Whatever.
So prime example, the New England Patriots. Every time they win, they're accused of cheating. 90% of the time, it's been proven there's been evidence of guilt. Okay,
suspicious
activities. Not saying that President Trump has cheated or anything, but that's kind of the setup, right? That you win, you keep on winning, and then they're trying to find dirt on you, right? And then that's where you had impeachment. But like Jaime pointed out, that's what impeachment in this case will probably provide a swing like that.
Yeah, so like people just waited to see what happens. Yeah. And let's say they didn't pass impeachment. Maybe the people are like, I didn't think we should impeach him either. Well, so it's kind of like, it could be a bandwagon effect here. It could be, right? But the numbers are still way off the charts based on the week's changes. So anyways, going back to the numbers on Politico, 1,744 people were polled. 34% of those people were Democrats. Mm-hmm. That means 592 people are Democrats. Mm-hmm. 39% of those people polled, or 680 people, are independents. Okay. And of the same people that they polled, 25% were Republicans, or 436 people were Republicans. What does that mean, Eddie?
That means you have more Democrats being polled in this
Represented
in this poll. You have approximately 15% more Democrats were polled, and you're providing the narrative that basically contradicts. This is the one in the Hill, right?
Yes, that's the one.
It's funny because that's the one in the Hill, because the Hill, you have the article too, says that independent voters, if I'm correct, were against impeachment.
Yeah, we're against impeachment.
So go back to your
the same Hill,
right,
last week or the week before,
yeah,
said that 47% were against impeachment, and 49% were against impeachment, and 39 were for it.
But to stay clear on topic is the problem with this poll, guys, and this is why it's always important that you dig into the polls, who was polled, what ages were polled, and so on and so forth.
Or watch MM talk.
We'll break it down to you. You clearly find out that Politico, in this case, polled more Democrats than Republicans. That's a problem, because if you're saying that if you're polling more Democrats who agree with more of your narrative, then you can provide the titles that they provide. There's been a drastic shift in the
majority of
voters are now in favor of Trump removal and impeachment. When you actually dig in, no, it's that Democrats still hate the guy and they want him out of office.
And they answered the survey or the poll. More of them were polled than the opposition.
Right.
So if even let's say that it's not under the control, right? They put the poll out there and people just self-identify, right? Let's just say they just and then it happens to be just that way randomly, right? It still skews the results because
that's the word I was telling you.
It still skews the results because you're like saying that a majority, when that majority is people who already set their minds up and getting Trump out of office. It's like asking Republicans, do you support Trump? Obviously, you're going to get 92% of them to say yes. It's like if you say, Democrats, do you like Pelosi? 93% of them are going to say yes.
No. Wrong. No. It's like asking...
Okay, Democrats, do you hate Donald Trump?
Yes.
89% of them, or 90% of Democrats will say, yes, we hate the guy. Well, duh. It's like, duh. That's why you're a Democrat and not a Republican, right? And vice versa.
Right.
You're a Republican, you support the Trump. Obviously, it's going to be higher numbers. So it's like, if you get a room of 10 Republicans and then 5 Democrats, and then you say, majority of people like Trump.
And don't get me wrong. And let's not get this twisted though. It happens on the other side too.
It happens on the other side too.
So let's not get twisted. But
it's like let's put 10 Democrats in a room and 5 Republicans.
And Fox News will say, well, there's a majority of
and there's a majority of people who hate Donald Trump. Well, ja.
You question 15% more.
You got the results you wanted. Like what?
And that's the problem that also deals. So with impeachment, again, the perceptions that you guys are getting, if you don't dig into the numbers, you're not going to know these numbers are cooked. Like Jaime said, the corporate term, you didn't cook the books. About here, about there.
Cooking the books.
You didn't cook the books.
You skewed the numbers. You inflated the numbers to represent a greater growth in your company's stocks.
But
or profits.
But that's dangerous. Though that's dangerous because
dangerous.
You keep getting the perceptions that are wrong, because as many of us Americans,
not wrong, but it's like not 100% true. It's like in fact check.
If it's not 100%
partially
true,
true.
If it's partially true, that means it's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Come on. Come on. Get out of here. Yeah. Well, there's partially true
and
now.
We also noticed that NPR and PBS published a poll pretty much the same days, and their numbers are way different. 47% of the NPR PBS poll said that they support the impeachment, 48% of people, according to NPR and PBS, oppose the impeachment. So, what's going on here? Why is the number so drastically different, right? Mm-hmm. Politico shows 51% support and 42% oppose. Mm-hmm. NPR, PBS, around the same time frame, say 47 support impeachment, 48 are against impeachment. Way drastic numbers. We tend to believe more the NPR and PBS numbers because it's closer to what we've been seeing.
It's closer to the narrative.
To the narrative that we've been seeing in the past months during the impeachment process, which is like it's evenly split. You know, it's like skewed a little bit more against impeachment, but not so much. It's evenly split, right? So it's pretty much more consistent to what the reporting has been.
Yeah, it's more close to the narrative, even though we also find out there's also a skew of more Democrats being polled, but it's closer to the narrative. So in the NPR and PBS poll, we had 1,387 people were polled. 38% of those people were Democrats, or 527. 34% of that were Republicans, and it's 467 people. And 28% of those were independents, or 393 people. So it's still a higher percentage between Democrats being polled and Republicans. But the difference is it's only really small number, right? Yeah, which is basically what I say.
Kind of even it out.
I said like 3%, maybe
4%, yeah,
3-4%. That falls more into the narrative. So, guys, so when you hear polls that show this, polls that show that, click on the poll itself, and if you're or tune in to MM Talk, like Jaime says, we'll break it down for you.
MM Talk,
okay? Don't forget to share. Comment below, and we'll break it down. We'll break it down because this is what we're gonna be looking at, especially in upcoming episodes. You're gonna see us doing more poll data, but that's something you don't need to know right now. But really understand how the polls and how the skews of these numbers really drive the article's narrative and how they want to perceive it to you guys. Because like I said, no, there's something wrong here. There's no way. Donald Trump, President Trump wasn't even found guilty. The Republicans didn't even switch sides. There's just no way you see this drastic change.
And not only that, the news media have been like, people don't even care. People are not engaged. It's like they tuned out. Yeah, the numbers aren't changing. Like the whole news cycle was telling us, like, yeah, it seems like people are just tuned out of Trump. Yeah. Right, on the impeachment. And then you come with these drastic numbers saying all of a sudden everyone hates Trump. Like, whoa. For like 2 months you've been saying people don't care, and all of a sudden people do care.
They care, yeah.
So our conclusion is either the Super Bowl bandwagon effect.
Yeah.
Or
you're skewing the
as
numbers.
We're looking at the numbers.
You're cooking the books. You're cooking the books. And
shame on you.
Like I said, it's been done before by both sides.
Both sides of the party.
I get it, but my concern when you're doing it on there, something as big. You see, you guys, impeachment is big. It's not something like, oh, you guys voted the House down bill. Okay, we can try it again. Fine. No, you impeached. Oh, it's only happened 3 times in American history. You're trying to provide a perception that the president was guilty the entire time. And by providing these excuse numbers, you're just driving that narrative further and further and further. Okay? Interesting thing that Tom Steyer said in the last Democratic debate, the one that was just held in L.A., and he said that President Trump has to be held accountable in the court of public opinion. I'm like, what?
Public opinion?
Public opinion.
Wow.
So if you're driving these kind of narratives, it's going to get to that point. It's going to get to the point where you're just polarizing people more. You're polarizing people to the point where, like, no, you see, it's everybody's saying it. It's 51% and this and that. Like, guys, on impeachment, I implore you to please either tune into MM Talk, where we will break down things like this, or do it yourself. Because if you just take the article as is,
learn to read between the lines. That's what we always talk about here in MM Talk. We learn to read between the lines. You'll
because
get more
it always
that
depends on what your definition of is.
That's a quote from Bill Clinton, who also got impeached back in 1998 and 99.
That the two the two men who have insulted Hillary Clinton the most in the last 30 years have been both impeached.
Damn! One had to be her husband, and the other one was a political rival. And the nerve of that woman to say no one's above the law.
Yeah, that one.
The same woman
who deleted emails.
Who the FBI came out and said, yeah, she did do wrong. Yeah, she's guilty of other things, but we won't charge her.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that another day.
But yeah, we'll leave it. We'll wrap it up here on impeachment. So on our next episode, we'll see how we'll talk about how impeachment will play for the 2020 election, given that we're going to enter that cycle. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that.
Yes, the president was most likely to be in the ballot next year.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. But for impeachment, guys, to summarize it up, it's not, as of now, he's not going to be removed from office. Mm-hmm. He will still have to go into the Senate, have the trial, and then based on our analysis of the current set of events, because we don't know what could happen at the trial.
True.
I mean, for all I know, the Democrats have an ace under the hole, and they'll be like, "Hi, got it."
They might have a glove. They might have the bullet. They might have the gun.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but based on now, we can tell you that the president will not be removed from office. So to all you that we're happy about that, you can stop partying now, turn your boom boxes away. Boom boxes? What am I talking about? I'm in the 90s.
Damn, you're back to middle school.
I can't elementary. Playing MC Hammer. But turn off your speakers, your Bluetooth speakers. Okay, your ear pods, whatever they're called,
ear pods.
All those things, turn them off. Stop partying. Okay, it's no longer 1999. You all need to calm down and really learn. I hope you really learn how impeachment looks like, how the process is, and why what the Democrats did this last week is perhaps the most. I don't even know how
obvious, right?
Not, but I'm saying the most dangerous thing and most obvious and dangerous thing this country has seen. Mm-hmm. I'm being that serious. You guys think it's like, hey, I think you're exaggerating. No. Impeachment, guys, was reduced to a political strategy. It's no longer holding a person accountable for actually committed crimes. Mm-hmm. Okay? That would be the pretense of the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But if the opposing party can no longer beat a president, good luck.
Use impeachment as a source?
It was impeachment as a last resort to get him out of office. Mm-hmm. Good luck. The House of Representatives now created a way to hold in its grip the executive branch, whether you like it or not. And Trump could be laughing all at once, but when mainstream media is being driven by the opposing party and by the liberals, I should say.
Well, yeah, 90%,
almost 90% by liberal media, by the people that oppose you. You're gonna have a tough time trying to govern. Mm-hmm. That's the danger, and that's the danger. I hope our liberal friends tend to understand that it's not about us supporting the president or being conservative. It's how this affects the entire country as a whole. Because, like that one congressman said, I wish I could name on the top of my head. When it's your guy in office, don't get all butthurt or surprised that the Republicans are doing exactly the same thing.
Will be capable of doing the same thing.
Capable of doing the same thing.
So it's like, where is the fairness and truth, right? The media says they're fair and truthful, but yet we all know that they're all 90% of them are registered Democrats. So,
with that,
thank you for tuning in for MM Talk. Thank you for listening to us. Don't forget to share. Please let us know what you think. If you need a more clear breakdown or something, or we missed something, please let us know below. We'd like to hear your feedback. We'd like to hear your opinions. We'd like to know what you're thinking. And hopefully you enjoy the show. And remember, we are your hosts, Jaime Moreno
and Eddie Marmolejo.
And don't forget, we're tired of it too.